Congressional Democrats are demanding that federal law enforcement, Border Patrol and ICE, obtain a judicial warrant signed by a judge before entering private property, which sounds like a no-brainer. I was led to believe that private property in America is sacred and that government officials can't just barge in with a flimsy administrative warrant. But we find ourselves in a situation where federal agents are now entering people's homes, not with a judicial warrant, but with an administrative warrant. Now, again, this is a big problem, and I hope the Democrats continue demanding that judicial warrants be utilized. And what they're doing to essentially exercise whatever leverage the Democratic Party has here is they are withholding their votes on funding DHS unless they get these concessions. So you might be asking yourself, like, wait, well, hold on. Didn't Congress just vote on funding DHS? Yes, it was a stopgap bill. We're gonna keep playing these ridiculous games where they do these like super short funding bills. And then like a week later, we're in the same situation again. And so if they fail to pass a government funding bill for DHS by Friday night, then that means DHS will go without funding until they do pass legislation. My view of this is, okay, that's fine. I don't think that you should give them funding. And if the Republicans refuse to budge on it, play that game of chicken and play it real hard, okay? For once in your lives, do not cave to Republicans on this issue, because this isn't just about immigration policy. This is about our privacy rights. So let's get into it. So last week, the Department of Homeland Security issued a news release defending the use of administrative warrants, which are warrants issued by the executive branch to itself. Okay, your warrant means nothing to me. Okay, the whole purpose of how our system of government is set up is you're supposed to have checks and balances. So the idea that rather than going to a judge to get a warrant, you're just gonna write a warrant for yourself is insane. But that's what's been happening. And I do take issue with anyone from the government entering anyone's home or private property without the appropriate judicial warrant. But that's what's been going on here. So DHS General Counsel James Percival claims that this is consistent with broad judicial recognition that illegal aliens aren't entitled to the same Fourth Amendment protections as US citizens. That's not true, by the way. I'll continue though. It is also consistent with the Supreme Court's admonition that the touchstone of the Fourth Amendment is whether the search or seizure is unreasonable, not whether it is supported by judicial warrant. So let me be very clear. The federal courts, including the Supreme Court, has weighed in on whether undocumented individuals in this country are protected by the same constitutional rights enjoyed by American citizens. And time again, they have ruled that yes, they are. Because if you read the Constitution, it says all persons. It doesn't say American citizens, all persons. So that means that undocumented individuals are, yes, they are protected by the Fourth Amendment. And who's to say, I mean, think about this. The executive branch, through these administrative warrants, is just they're writing warrants to themselves, for themselves. Okay, so what's to stop them from doing this when it comes to an American citizen? Oh, we suspected that they were harboring illegal immigrants. So we wrote ourselves a warrant and we entered their private property. Are you guys okay with that? I'm not okay with that. Like, when did we find ourselves in a position where I'm less trusting toward the government than people on the right? Can we get back to the place where you guys are like looking at government officials and thinking, sus, super sus? We need to fight to protect our constitutional rights, because if we give them an inch, well, you know what happens. But anyway, one GOP strategist also told Politico that the judicial warrants are the key operational thing that Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller and the crew do not want to budge on. Okay, well, that's not That's not persuasive in any way. I don't care what Stephen Miller insists on at all. What I care about is protecting the constitutional rights of everyone in this country, namely the right to protect your property from feds busting down your door and entering without a judicial warrant. But it's not just a Miller thing. Many Republicans actually agree that federal law enforcement should be allowed to enter our homes without a proper warrant. One of the people close to the administration described the judicial warrants proposal as a complete non-starter for the White House. Because guess what? The government wants to violate your privacy. They will try, and if you don't push back, they will do it. So like, oh, it's a complete non-starter for the White House. Okay, well, what do the courts say? As well as for any congressional Republicans. Okay, great. So other asks from the Democrats include prohibiting federal immigration agents from wearing masks, requiring them to display identification. This isn't rocket science. This is like literally the bare minimum that we should expect from the people who work for us. We don't work for them. They work for us. So they should identify themselves and they should take that mask off. Could we just briefly discuss all the various people that make up law enforcement in this country and how many of them do their jobs without a mask, knowing that the decisions they make, the arrests they carry out will definitely lead to some enemies? Think about the judges who oversee criminal court cases. Okay, they literally have violent criminals in some cases, rapists and murderers in their courtroom, and they have to make sentencing decisions. Do they wear a mask when they do it because they're afraid? They're afraid that the suspect might dox them? Like, what is this? But anyway, they're also asking or demanding that there are limits to where ICE can operate, which is also expected to be a major sticking point.
You know that moment right before you launch something new, that pit in your stomach? I remember when I started TYT, I thought to myself, what if no one watches? What if we run out of money tomorrow? It was scary. Still think about that every once in a while, but you push through, and having the right tools makes all the difference. Like when we launched Shop TYT, Shopify was a lifesaver. We used it and we loved it. If you're starting a business, those what ifs can be terrifying, and that's where Shopify comes in. What if I can't build a good looking website? Shopify has hundreds of templates to build a beautiful online store that actually matches your brand. What if people haven't heard of my brand? Shopify helps you to get the word out with easy to run email and social campaigns. What if I get stuck or have a question in the process? Their award-winning 24/7 support is there with expert advice. And the best part, that iconic purple Shop Pay button. It's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. Less abandoned carts, more sales for you. It's time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/TYT. Go to shopify.com/TYT. That's shopify.com/TYT.
Republicans are arguing that Democrats have to make some major concessions to Trump in order to get their demands met. And how about funding the government? That's the concession. How about that? But anyway, a growing number of immigration hawks are pressuring the White House to stand firm and give the Democrats next to nothing, especially since tensions in Minneapolis have, if only slightly, decreased. Okay, great. So that's what we get. That's what we get when tensions decrease, right? Tensions decrease. It's a great opportunity for DHS, when no one's paying attention, to implement these insane draconian policies, which in my opinion are really about setting the stage for the age of AI. That sounds crazy, right? I know that sounds crazy. But the reason why I think this is because when you look at the deportation numbers, the Trump administration is not really impressive compared to previous administrations. Obama is still spanking that ass when it comes to deportations. He's still the deporter in chief. So what's really happening with the deployment of these ICE agents, these Border Patrol agents? What are they really doing? What are they really up to? In my view, it's about normalizing the presence of militarized federal agents on our streets. I think it's also about Trump retaliating against municipalities and states that have not been friendly to him, whose constituents didn't overwhelmingly vote for him. But I also think it's about normalizing violations of our privacy, including the entrance of federal agents into private property without the appropriate warrants. So what I found really fascinating and also foreshadowing was a conversation that happened during the World Economic Forum. So in this next video, European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde raised privacy concerns related to AI before BlackRock chairman and CEO Larry Fink jumped in and said the quiet part out loud. Pay close attention to this discussion because remember, the one thing that Trump seems very concerned about is beating China when it comes to AI. Now, what would need to happen for us to be able to do that? Take a look.
Now, if you ask the big G's in digitalization and the big spenders in artificial intelligence, and just for memory, to develop a frontier model today requires about $1 billion. If you ask them what they need, they will say access to data as large as possible. They will say scale in order to really amortize the investment cost of the development of models. Now that would be significantly jeopardized if we have limited access to data because of different privacy laws around the world. And I would contend that this can only be remedied by a degree of cooperation that is going to be a factor of willingness of people to accept and tolerate different paradigms, different cultural preferences, and different views of the world.
I think for the Western economies, if we don't cooperate, if we don't scale, China wins. There's enough population there. Privacy laws are obviously quite different there, and so the data that they can accumulate, which is giving them a dramatic advantage. And I think that's going to be one of the big overwhelming things. When people ask me, are we in an AI bubble? I said, I think there are going to be some big failures, but I don't think we're in a bubble. But that being said, I would much rather say that we need to spend more money to make sure that we're competing properly against China.
Do you guys understand how important it is to not get swayed by whatever bias you have, whatever, concern you have about immigration? DHS can carry out deportations without violating privacy rights. And it's really important that we push back on the feds entering private property without a judicial warrant, because private property is sacred. I know it's gonna make some people uncomfortable, but I mean it. Think about your home. Think about your home and how it is your safe space. That is the place that you can be safe, you can be free, you can be yourself. You don't have to worry about someone barging in and violating that safety and that privacy. If you start allowing the federal government to chip away at that, in my opinion, sacred right, you're gonna give them an inch, they're gonna take the mile. And our privacy is completely gone, completely gone. In the name of AI, in the name of technological advancement, in the name of competing with and beating China. This isn't about deportations. This is about normalizing a world that I personally don't want to live in. And we should be skeptical of government. Even if we think that government is carrying out a policy that we really like, I mean, I don't like what ICE and Border Patrol has been doing at all, at all. But putting that aside, even if I were supportive of it, I would at least be skeptical and question the necessity to allow federal agents to barge into people's homes with a flimsy administrative warrant. We are in a war right now that I don't think most Americans realize we need to be fighting. And that war has to do with protecting our rights. So something to keep in mind as this continues to develop. And they always, look, people in power always use divisive issues to kind of like distract us or get us to comply with the types of policies that turn around and bite us in the ass. So just be wary of that. Be aware of it. I know I will.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.